The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale lighting products, detail accessory parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today.
Hello again, everybody. Boyd here with you, and welcome back. Well, I'm excited to be out in the shop this morning. The postman rang my doorbell this morning and left me this package here on the door, and here's what it is, guys. This is the 1/1000 scale Discovery Enterprise. I talked about this kit coming soon on the channel, and we got it today. I want to thank my good friend Jerry at HDA ModelWorks. He sent me this kit and just said, have fun building it. And I really appreciate that, Jerry, and I definitely am going to have fun building this. I'm really excited about it. I really love the design of this new ship. We saw it in the last season of Star Trek Discovery. They had a couple of episodes where they dealt with Captain Pike. This is his ship, the NCC 1701 Enterprise, and it's really cool because it's got some elements of the original ship from the classic TV show. It's got a little bit of refit going on with some of the floodlighting and the blue chiller grills. And then I think it has a little bit of NX01 going on with it too. It's just really cool. And it's about 18 inches long, so it's a really nice size. It's almost the exact same size as the original AMT 1/650 scale Classic Enterprise. If you're a Star Trek fan when you were a kid, you probably definitely built up that kit. Probably was one of your favorites. I think it's one of the most popular model kits of all time. And I know I built several of them, so this is really cool to have it in the same size. They definitely did a callback to that original kit here on the box art that you can see too. They have the same kind of paneling, details, and over on the other side here they've got watch the classic TV show, or watch the TV show, and then pictures of the ship in action, and then the decal set. That's straight off of the original box art from back in the 60s and early 70s. That's a nice little callback. The guys at Polar Lights are definitely Trekkers. I love those guys over there. They're always putting nice little Easter eggs on their stuff. Really cool. So I'm really happy to get this kit, and I'm excited about, let's show you the bottom here, getting started on it. And we're going to do that in this first video. I've got some work to do. I'm going to pull it out of the package, start doing some light blocking and get things going, and I'm going to take you through this whole build process. I'm really excited about it. Now you can see here on the box art, they depict it as sort of a silver color. I'm doing my research on this, and I'm seeing something a little bit different. On the TV show, it looks more subdued like this on the box art here. It's more of a, a satin or dull color, and looks to be a little bit of a gray, or a super, like a white with a gray over the top of it or something like that. I'm going to check that out, try to get it right and everything, but I'm not a big fan of that bright silver. We'll just see what we come up with. I'll try to do whatever looks best, but we might be open for some, investigating there. But I'm going to do all the lighting on it using all the modern stuff that I have here. I'm going to be using my own lighting components. There is a separate lighting kit available for this from Polar Lights, which is a nice little plug-and-play set for those who just want to plug it in and go. And it looks really great. You get the spinning engines, you get all the lighting on the hull. So that's one way to go if you want to. But part of the fun for me is figuring this out. I like to engineer my own lighting and teach myself how to do that along the way. That's what I've done over the years, and I've gotten pretty good at it. But it's just something I like to do. We're going to use our own motors and stuff like that. Now there is a aftermarket Aztec set for this. That's I guess it's on back order right now, so we might have to wait for that, but I can go ahead and get everything built and painted, and we can come back and add that later. As we see on the back here, this comes with a Polar Lights dome type base, the large version, which is the same one that you get with the 350 scale Classic Enterprise kit. So I'm going to use that temporarily to get the ship mounted on it and use it as a working platform. But Jerry at HDA ModelWorks is working on, we're kind of collaborating together, but we're working on a custom display base for this that's going to have some new features that you haven't seen before, and I'm really excited about it. Jerry is an incredible guy when it comes to coming up with new concepts and design and artwork and everything like that. So this is going to be really cool. It'll have some lighting in it, and we'll be able to feature some sound effects and things like that. So we're collaborating together on that, and you'll see that at the end here. So I'm excited to be able to show you that too. So after saying all that, everybody, let's get started. I'm excited and ready to go. We'll be right back with the beginning of building this great little model kit. Hey, I'm back with you guys. It's been a couple hours and making really good progress on this little kit. It's a great kit, I gotta say. No problems at all with anything. I've tested it all the parts, start off with the process of taking everything off the part sprues, all the main, parts of the hull and the cells, the saucer, and started working with those first. I'm leaving all the small detail parts on the sprue so I don't lose them. We'll get to some of those a little bit later, but I wanted to get you guys caught up with what I've done so far and talk about how the model's going. I started off, clipping them off the sprues, coming in with 320 paper, and I basically sanded down every single edge on all these parts. That's something that I do on any model I'm building where two halves are going together. You get that issue where there's one side higher than the other or whatever, and it's really hard to sand when they're already together like that. So I knock those down before I even start and kind of create a little bit of a low spot. That way when I got a seam or whatever, I can put my putty on there and it's attracted right away to that low spot. And when you sand it, it all levels itself back out and fills in nice and smooth. So I did all that. Then the next step was to come in and I scuffed all the entire outer surfaces down with double-aught steel wool or double zero, because I mentioned in my recent video about getting started. That's my favorite go-to for sanding anymore, especially on a model that's got a lot of curves and nooks and crannies like this thing does. Look at all these little areas that are recessed and panel lines and everything. No way you can get that all sanded properly with a flat piece of sandpaper. So that got all that done. Then I took all these parts out to the kitchen and gave them a good warm wash with soap and water, Dawn dishwashing detergent, and made sure all the mold release and all my, grease from my hands was off of them from all the handling I did. Brought them out here, and then I started light blocking from the inside because we're going to be putting a lot of light in here. I started off on each part with this regular black right here. This is very inexpensive. I just showed this in my little video about the basics of painting. I buy this at Home Depot for 99 cents a can, so I buy like a dozen of them at a time. And, it's flat black, so it dries really fast, and it actually covers really good. It's not a bad paint at all. I've actually even painted a couple of my Polar Lights base with it and put a clear over it, and it looks fabulous. But anyway, I made sure I covered each one of these parts liberally with like 3 coats of black paint. And what I would do in between is I would take it and hold it up to a light. I don't want to shine it right in your face, but you got to hold these parts up to a really bright light, like really close. Don't do it from far away and look at it. You got to get right in there because that's how close your LEDs are going to be sitting inside there. And if it's going to leak, you're going to see the light leaks there. Once I got all that, made sure everything was blocked, then I came back with some of this white. And you can see, especially on this saucer right here, I just lightly dust that in there. I don't like make sure it's all painted totally perfect and even, because all that white is doing is helping the light bounce around in there and make it more efficient to where hopefully you don't have to use as many LEDs to get the same amount of lighting as if you had a dark color in there. And it bounces it around and it helps keep the lighting all balanced out, to where one area doesn't look brighter than the other and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people will use that reflective tape or foil or, that stuff is okay, but you got to keep in mind that that stuff is highly conductive. It's a metal material. And I've heard of a couple guys later on when they something happened where some connection came apart or started touching and it got up, against that, and it shorted it all out. Once they wound up taking the model apart later, they found that that's where it had shorted out, and that's why I don't use it. And that's a lot of work to cut all that out and shape all that and everything, when you can just spray this stuff on. Now, I like to use white because the silver, to me, if you use a silver, you'd think, okay, that'll really reflect the light. Yeah, it does. But I've noticed if you're going to be doing like warm white lighting or something like that, it makes it look it adds a green tint to it if you look at it from the outside. It's very strange, but it is noticeable. So I don't do that. I use strictly the white. It's very neutral, and it doesn't seem to affect any of the colors or anything. So, and it's really efficient. It works really good. So we got all of our light blocking done. So then we were ready to paint the outside. As I talked about, everything there went pretty good. I just went ahead and started off with my duplicolor adhesion promoter here because I know I'm going to be doing some kind of a little bit of panel painting on this, and I'm going to be using masking tape in a few spots. Most of it's going to be covered by Aztecs later on, our decals, but some of these little things here, like the blowout panels, I'm going to do like in a darker shade of like gunmetal gray or whatever, to make it look like it did on the original ship. I'm going to paint these little windows right here I'll mask those and paint them versus trying to do them with a brush. And, you know, that's going to be involving putting tape on it here and there. Got to do that same thing around these little grills right here on the nacelles. I don't think there's any different colors on the secondary hull here, but, you know, that's just the, you know, it's kind of a process that I do, and I just stick to it because I just hate paint problems. And it's really hard to repair paint that if you pull a big chunk out of there and it goes all the way down to the bare plastic and you've got like 2 or 3 layers of, you know, paint and primer on there, it leaves a really deep, you can't just paint over it. I've seen people try to do that and you can see it. But, you know, it leaves a really deep crater there, and you can't just paint over that. You have to go back in there and actually, unless you want to sand down a big area and blend it all in, you've got to go in there with a little bit of putty and, you know, fill that in and sand it down and make it level again and then repaint it. And that's a lot of work. So I try to avoid that whenever possible. Can you imagine that happening if you already had a whole bunch of, you know, 2 hours spent on doing all these complex panels with an airbrush or something, you pull a big chunk of it off? That's miserable when that happens. So I hate to be a stickler for that and keep talking about it, but I just, you know, like I said, I can't stress it enough. It's a boring part of modeling, but it's a really necessary one. But so we got the primer laid down on top of our adhesion promoter here. I use this Duplicolor 2-in-1. I will say that the surface of this model is actually pretty nice. I noticed, though, that on the secondary hull and on especially on top of the saucer, that it had a really sort of a fine pebble texture to it. And it looks to me like it's the modern technology. They probably made a 3D print and then molded off of that. And I think that's what we see here. It looks just like something that's been 3D printed. And I especially didn't want that texture on top of the saucer. You know, I like to, when I lay my eye down and look along the surface of these, I like to have it be nice and smooth and everything. And so I went to a lot of work to correct that. You know, of course, I sanded it with a steel wool. I didn't want to sand a lot on the plastic itself because, you know, there's some fine details on here. I didn't want to remove any of that. So I went with my primer, and then I put, you know, 1 coat on there. Then I came back and sanded that really carefully by hand with some 600, wet sanded it. And then I put another coat of primer and then wet sanded it again before I finally put down my top coat here. And it helped a lot. It's a lot better than what it was. And of course, this whole thing is going to be covered with Aztec decals, so another layer of smooth will be going down, topped off with a seal coat of clear. So I think in the end that's going to come out really nice. But you might notice that on your model kit too. It may be worse on some kits than it is others too. Mine was pretty bad, and I just didn't like it, so I went to a lot of trouble. There was a little bit of that on the secondary hull, but not as bad. I was able to clean that up, you know. And that's not going to be as noticeable either. On the top of the saucer, that's the thing that everybody's going to see. So we got them all painted then, and I'm using this Folk Art pewter color right here, just straight into my airbrush, mixed with water. Use my heat gun to gently help it all cure and everything. Now the color I chose is it's a slightly darker shade. Now it's really close, if you notice, it's really close to the color that the plastic is made out of. And I think that's the more, that looks closer to the way the ship looks on the screen to me. A lot of these are getting built with a really bright, you know, people are using a really bright, like a polished aluminum or almost chrome kind of paint. And I just don't think that looks right. The model, or I mean the ship, it's a CGI ship, of course, but, you know, and there's not a lot of scenes of it in the show or in the movie that we can see or the TV show. But it looks pretty dark, and when they pan the camera across it up close, when there's a light source in the background, you can see a sort of a shimmer on top of it, you know, like a little bit of a reflectivity. But it's not super blinding. It's more of a satin kind of a, you know, reflection or whatever. So, and, you know, this reserved color, and I think when they molded it in that color, that's the color that they were kind of trying to represent. So I went just a tiny little bit lighter than that, and then I came back with some really, really super thin you know, black acrylic paint, thin down towards like thinner than water almost, and just lightly dusted over them all. And that left a little bit of shading on all these little different, you know, highlights and everything. But it didn't darken the color too much, just a little bit. You might be able to see a little bit of it on the saucer there. Just kind of blended it in and gave it a little bit of a, you know, so it doesn't look so uniform. And so that's, you know, this is pretty much ready for the decals next. I'm going to, you know, put it all together, and then we'll wind up putting a seal coat on at the end. Now, I did do some modifications to this part here. I took my hobby knife and I went and opened up this little slit here on the leading edge of that opening a little bit more than it is from the, you know, right out of the box, because I'm going to use some LED strip lighting that Jerry gave me, the really micro small stuff in white, and I'm going to try to get it really close up against that so I can get a little bit of halo effect coming out of that front part to try to maybe light a little bit of that registration number up front. It wouldn't have worked before without modifying that, because the lip went in there a little too far and it was slightly curved upward at the very tip of it, and that's going to block any light from getting out there direct. It would make a little shadow right here at the very leading edge of it. So I modified that. The lens still fits in there and still covers the whole thing. You know, you can't tell it's been opened up. It didn't ruin it. It's still going to look perfectly fine. Now I also went around and opened up these 4 holes right here, these 4 skylights, if you want to call them that. They are there on the Classic Enterprise, and I thought that was a really cool thing that they added those on this ship. They're in the same positions and they're the same shapes, and but they're not opened up on the kit. They're just kind of little lines that are molded on there. So I opened those up with my files, and I'll be using some of my solar res to come in here and make little lenses, and then I'll diffuse them, and then the lighting that we put in the rest of the saucer will light those up. So that was just something extra I wanted to do. No other modifications so far on any of these parts, but being that we're going to be doing the lighting, I'm going to talk about that, and I'm using my own lighting kit. Some of these brackets in here are going to have to be removed. These are for the LEDs that you get with the plug and play. Like they've got one LED that goes here, one here. I think one faces towards the rear, something like that. And I'm going to use LED strip tape. So right in the center part, you can see if I remove that bracket right there, that'll be an open area that I can lay one. I can lay another one right down in here that'll get most of the back and the middle. And then I may have to do one facing upward to get the neck, but we'll see. On the big 350 scale, I do 2 strips facing each other, and that lights that up, you know, nice and even and everything. But if, you know, this is a really small area right here, and it's really close together, so we don't want to put too much lighting in there, or it'll look brighter than the rest of everything else, and we don't want that. So a little bit of modifying to do there, and don't worry, you won't miss that. When I get to that point, you guys will see exactly what I do. Kind of the same thing in the nacelles here. You can see they've all been light blocked. Now we've got these blue grills that need to be lit up, so I'll be putting some LED tape in here. I'm going to use regular blue LED tape, and I'm going to try to put it up above the grill on this side right here. So if you look in, you won't see the hot spots. The tape will be above it, and it won't interfere, or you won't be looking straight at it, and I won't have to do much diffusing in there. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to probably remove this little mounting peg guide right here, and that won't hurt it at all because it still has a lip all the way around it that you glue it together. And I'll be able to put a strip of LED tape almost all the way the length of this thing, and that'll light it up nice and even. Down here, there's a little bracket at the end to light up the tailpipes. There's some nice blue lights that come out the back. They've got a slot right there for the 5mm. So I'll use a blue 5mm regular LED right there. That'll take care of all that. I haven't decided yet. It looks like on the box art there's a couple of tiny little light spots on the front part of the nacelles. I may decide to do that. If I do, I'll just do that with a little bit of fiber optic or something, and with a little white SMD in there. But I may not monkey with it. I'm playing around with the idea of the ship has the on the forward part of the secondary hull where the pennants are on both sides, just behind the deflector dish, they have a little halo of light right there, just like on the Enterprise refit. And it looks like it comes off of the, from the nacelle and comes down and touches that. So I'm playing around with the idea of maybe doing that, getting some type of lighting in here and putting a little tube in there with an opening so that, that tube will, having the LED recessed in a tube a little bit will make it put out a circular, semicircular halo of light. And if I can aim it just right, I might be able to get it on that pennant or whatever. You can't do it with Raytheon effect, unfortunately, with this kit because it's molded in this dark gray plastic. When I tried it, even with a really bright white LED right up against it, it looks green. So unfortunately, there's no Raytheon on this one, guys. But anyway, that's where I'm at so far on all this. A little bit of modifying to do there. I'm still thinking of a couple things, but let me walk you over to the other bench now and the electronics part I'm working on. Here is the, that's my Bassard so far. I've got that all worked out. Again, I'm not using the kit. I wasn't sure what would work in this, and it was quite a bit of fiddling around. When I get to the next video, we'll show you the intricacies of this. There's quite a bit of fiddling around I had to do, but it's working out really well in the end. I think it looks really nice. I've got it spinning at the speed I want it to, and it's not noisy. And these are the Tenecontrols motors from the, you can buy these motors separately from Ralph from his 50th anniversary TOS kit. And they fit in here lickety-split. The only thing you have to do is you have to shorten up the stalks on these a little bit to get them, they stick out a little further than the motors that would come with this kit. they go in there and sit a little bit more recessed, so you have to do that, but it worked out really good. Now, this little part right here is something I wanted to show you guys. This I had to modify. This is normally what would happen on their plug-and-play kit. They have these little rings. They have a little LED board with 4 LEDs on it that sits behind this, and then that light goes through there and lights up your Bussard domes. And because the motor is so far back, there's space enough for that board to fit in there, right? Well, with these motors, you're a little bit closer, so I just had to take these on my little grinding tool on my Dremel and shave these down maybe about 1/8 of an inch or so. Not a whole lot. You'll have to do that by eye and test fit if you wind up using these motors, just to get some more space in between that and the back part of that and the front part of the motor. And then what I've done here is I've glued in 4 red SMDs and the same openings that they would shine through if you were using the LEDs from the plug-and-play kit, and that's the result we get. Now I did them in red, but what I did, let me show you one little thing here. Forgot to show you that part. The Bussards on the TV ship looks like they're kind of a halfway in between red and orange. So what I did is I did the outer domes in orange with the Tamiya orange transparent. And so when you combine them together, they give a really nice effect. And it diffuses this a little bit too. These have been diffused with some Testors dull coat. I hand painted on the little spinner bar things there, the little blades. They're pretty tiny. But you can see I got it nice and straight. It's spinning at a nice speed. It looks really good, and it's not making a lot of noise. But the next video will show the minute details of how I got all this to work, because I'm going to build this other one here for you. I don't have it built right now because I'm waiting for another motor. I only had one motor on hand. So I ordered a couple more motors from Ralph. Here I'm working on the saucer. Got it all light block like I did the other stuff, and I'm using the Tenecontrols 1000B standard flasher board just to get the blinking lights on the navigation lights here. And of course we got kind of a strobe light, so I'm going to do the 2 flashing lights at the tail. And I haven't decided yet. I might do one on the top of the bridge, because that'll be a little bit of a tribute to the refit. There's a little bit of elements to this, of the refit, the TOS, and the NX01, and that's why I really like the kit. We're going to light the impulse engines here. I'll leave those brackets in place. Just a couple of orange 5mm LEDs right there. Light those grills up. I'm going to do some strips of LED tape, probably in a square, right around like this, to light up the entire saucer. That'll light the top and the bottom. I've got my SMDs in here, and you can see what I did is like I showed you on the Batwing, I glued these down. I used a little bit of Solarez, made the lenses up on the top first, glued these down, and then made a little dome over the top of them with Solarez, and then I just painted over these with black, so they're completely light blocked. No light will leak into the windows or anything like that around the edges. I did the phasers the same way, or the photon torpedoes here the same way. They'll just have a constant little kind of low-key red glow coming out of those. That'll look pretty neat. I didn't want to go with a whole firing board or anything like that. Just put a little something extra in there. So we'll have the blinking lights and 2 at the tail. Might do one on the bridge. And that's it pretty much for this. Static lighting on the inside. We'll be ready to close this up. So we'll be making really good progress on this in the next video. This video might be a pretty short build series, but it's all going together really good, you guys. I'm really happy with that lighting. That looks as good as it does on the big 350. It'll look really nice when you see it all together inside of the model. This was the most finicky part right here, getting these all put on. You got to kind of snake them through around the motor, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I made sure I glued the wires nice and tight because you're so close to the motor in there coming past it that you can't leave any slack in the wires or anything. One of them might get loose and wind up inside the gears of that motor. These are gear reduction, steel geared motors. And you don't want that to happen. So I got those all nice and secured and ready to mount into the nacelle. So that's it, guys, for this update. Things are working out really great. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun working on this kit. It's a great little kit. And again, I really like the design. So we'll see you for the next update, and we'll be back and get into some of the more in-depth electronics part. I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm using a little transistor to make this work and a couple other things. And but nothing too complicated. It's all working out really nice. See you with that the next time, everybody. Take care and happy modeling, everyone.